Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, I thought that we would talk about this Vasyl Lomachenko versus Masayoshi Nakatani fight. I believe I'm pronouncing his name right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, let's talk about this Vasyl Lomachenko versus Nakatani fight. Very, very interesting fight when it came down to it. Very impressive comeback by Vasyl Lomachenko. And, let's just talk about it because this fight was very, very important for the 135-pound division. And it was very important for Vasyl Lomachenko's career. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. And let's talk about overall what this means for Vasyl Lomachenko for him later on down the line. So, anyways, I think Lomachenko, I thought that he did look very, very impressive yesterday. I would rank the majority of categories that I rank, when it comes to boxers. I would say that the majority of things that Lomachenko did yesterday, I would give him an A grade. His defense looked very, very good. His movement looked, good as it always does. His footwork, amazing as always. The only gripe that maybe I would have with this performance yesterday is that I still see sometimes a little bit of timidness when it comes down to it, and a little bit of hesitation to sometimes get that offense off against some of these type of opponents. And I get that it is important to wait. I do get overall that it is important sometimes to find the right angle or not put yourself in harm's way a lot of the times. But what I am going to say is this. If Lomachenko is going to possibly beat Teofimo Lopez in a rematch, because this fight was, if Lomachenko looked very, very good in this fight, which he did, he looked very, very good in this fight. And I said that if Lomachenko knocked out Nakatani, I actually would be decently surprised because Nakatani, he can take a lot of punishment. He's broken his orbital eye bone, I believe, in the ring a couple of times. Never been stopped. Didn't get stopped by Teofimo Lopez. Gave Teofimo Lopez a really tough fight. That was kind of the first time we heard of Nakatani. Gave Felix Verdejo a tough fight. Felix Verdejo was winning that fight, at first. But then in the second half, Nakatani started getting to him. And then, of course, eventually, I believe he ended up actually stopping Felix Verdejo in the ninth round. Felix Verdejo, unfortunately, kind of ended up being a little bit more hype than what he was actual reality. But when it came down to it overall, he still was a decent fighter. So Nakatani, he was actually coming off of a decent win, I believe. And Lomachenko, he was coming off of, a very bad loss to Teofimo Lopez. And, Lomachenko, of course, he brought up the shoulder injury. And, some people believe it, some people don't. What do I personally think? I don't know. It's possible maybe that he had a shoulder injury. He has had shoulder injuries in the past, but my bottom line is this. I didn't hear anything about it before the fight. I don't want to hear anything about it after the fight. That's my mindset on the injury. Really, when it comes down to it. Some people may disagree. If your shoulder really was that bad, in my opinion, you would have not been throwing as much as you did in the second half of that fight as well. So I don't think that it was the shoulder problem in the Teofimo Lopez fight. I think that he didn't know how to get around Teofimo Lopez's power, and that he was really timid to throw in the first half of that fight. And you can't just stare at your opponent and run around the ring and just hope to win the fight by osmosis. That's just not overall going to happen when it comes down to it. You have to throw. You have to be somewhat offensive. And it's not the fact that he was on the back foot. I'm not one of these guys. If you've been around my channel long enough, I'm not one of these guys that says that, oh, this guy's a runner. All he does is run. I'm not a person overall that criticizes the more defensive styles. I'm not a person overall that has ever, usually criticized Mayweather or Rigondeaux or Lara. Some of those guys are my most preferred fighters to watch. But when you move around the ring and you just stare at your opponent and you're not throwing anything, that's called running. That's what running actually is when it comes down to it. Now, being on the back foot and throwing consistently, that's not running around the ring. So what Arislani Lara does in some of his bigger fights, at least when he throws enough, that's not running around the ring. All that is aggression on the back foot. That's all that is. All right? That's not running. But what Vasyl Lomachenko did in the Teofimo Lopez fight, that was running. Yes, it was when it came down to it because he wasn't doing anything. You can't stare at your opponent and overall just hope to win rounds by, by whatever means. You have to be offensive. And so in this fight, it really was going to gauge where Lomachenko is at this point in time in his career. Is he going to have a chance against maybe some of the other elite 135 pounders? Now, Nakatani, of course, he's not an A-grade fighter. But what Nakatani is, he's a very tough, very awkward, very tall, decently powerful, 135 pounder who's decently big. So this actually was the perfect fight for Lomachenko to be in next. And I thought that he had a very great performance. I thought that he had a very good performance. Like I said, I think his defense looked good. His movement looked really good. His footwork looked as great as ever. The only thing I would say is that I'm still seeing a little bit of timidness from Lomachenko to kind of throw in certain areas. I thought that, there was more opportunities for him to throw in certain areas yesterday. I still seen, a little bit of, him being a little bit too careful. All I hope is that if he rematches Lopez, I hope we don't see the same Lomachenko, the same timid Lomachenko that we seen in the first fight. That's all I'm hoping. If Lomachenko is going to rematch Teofimo Lopez, I hope he goes all out. I hope overall that he puts on the best possible performance that he can put on, no matter who the winner is of that rematch, when it comes down to it. I would love to see a rematch between those two guys, which is interesting because I didn't think that a rematch was going to happen between those two guys. But we'll see what happens. But Lomachenko, with the performance that he had yesterday, with how good that he looked, and he was even getting hit by certain shots, especially to the body early on. And some people overall thought that, Lomachenko wasn't taking it well. It looked like he was taking it well to me. Don't get me wrong, he doesn't like to get hit by these bigger 135 pounders. But it looked like he was taking it decently well when it came down to it. It looked like he was taking the punches decently well. So when it comes down to it, I thought I would certainly give Lomachenko an A-grade performance yesterday. There's no doubt about that. I thought he looked very, very good. Now, will that Lomachenko that fought Nakatani yesterday, will that Lomachenko beat a Teofimo Lopez in a rematch if Lopez is able to get past George Kambosos? We'll see. Lopez does have certain faults of his own. In the second half of that fight, Lomachenko was able to get to him a little bit, and I thought was able to pull out at least a good 4 or 5 rounds. But when it comes down to it, he's got to do that from the get-go. He's got to be offensive. I think what Lomachenko needs to do in the Teofimo Lopez rematch, if it does happen, I just need to see more risk from Lomachenko. I need to see him double jab, triple jab sometimes even. I need to see him go to the body, throw a straight left hand to the body. Don't be afraid to go there. Timothy Bradley, I believe, brought up an excellent point yesterday when this fight was happening. He said that he would love to see Lomachenko do a little bit of body work. I agree. I think at times Lomachenko was headhunting a little bit too much. Now, obviously, he still got the job done. And the fact that he's the first and the only man to this day to stop Nakatani, that's very impressive because neither Teofimo Lopez nor Felix Verdejo were able to do that. And let me also say this, because I've been saying this forever about Lomachenko. A lot of people really underestimate this man's power. Do not underestimate Lomachenko's power. Lomachenko has, first of all, he has an A-grade gas tank. Lomachenko, I've never seen him tired, even when he is throwing at max capacity. But when it comes down to it, Lomachenko, his power, especially for him not being a natural 135 pounder, is really unbelievable. Now, he's probably not the same level of power as a Gervonta Tank Davis, and he's probably not even on the same level as a Teofimo Lopez. But he's the third strongest puncher at 135. I have no doubt about that whatsoever in my mind. In my opinion, he's a more powerful puncher. Well, Ryan Garcia, he did hit Luke Campbell very, very hard. So maybe Ryan Garcia, maybe he could be more powerful than Lomachenko. But I'm not so sure about that. Actually, if you were to ask me, I would say Lomachenko might be a more powerful puncher than Ryan Garcia. Some people may think I'm crazy for that statement. Lomachenko is an A-grade puncher. There is no debate about that. Lomachenko, his power, very underrated when it comes down to it. And as you've seen yesterday, he can knock someone out, even someone who's very, very tough to knock out when it comes down to it. So I would like to see Lomachenko put on the best possible performance that he can in that Teofimo Lopez rematch. Whoever may win, I think both of them are A-class fighters. So the rematch can be very, very tough. But Lomachenko, if he wants to win that rematch, he's going to have to be offensive from the get-go, and he's going to have to beat the champion when it comes down to it. Because I do think Bob Arum, even though he likes Lomachenko, I think overall he also really likes Teofimo Lopez. You know, and sometimes, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, certain Latino boxers, when it comes down to it, you know, who may be worth more money later on down the line, they may get the nod with the judges when it comes down to it. So, you know, Lomachenko, he's got an uphill battle. You know, when it comes down to can he do it? Is it possible? I think it's possible. I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but who would I bet to personally win the rematch between Lomachenko and Lopez? I have to go with Lopez personally because Lomachenko, I still seen a little bit of timidness from him yesterday. You know, not getting his complete offense off or not overall doing certain attacks that I thought maybe he could have. And I don't know. I need to see Lopez against George Kambosos. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But hopefully Lomachenko, at least for his sake, hopefully he has learned from that loss against Teofimo Lopez. And hopefully he comes back in great form. And if he beats Teofimo Lopez in the rematch, obviously that's a humongous win. And then he really would have a chance against any of the 135-pounders. The way that Lomachenko looked in this fight, though, I would say that he has a chance against a lot of those elite 135-pounders. This really was to gauge where he's at, and overall, will he have a chance against some of these guys? I think that he does, but he's gonna have to be offensive against some of these guys. He's going to have to take risks, and that means that you may get hit here and there. When it comes down to it, he's going to have to take more risks in the Teofimo Lopez rematch, even more than he did here against Nakatani. He's going to have to take more risks. He's going to have to double jab. He's going to have to try to go to the body. He's sometimes going to have to get his offense off, even sometimes when he doesn't feel he has the complete angle, or sometimes when he doesn't feel 100% comfortable. He needs to do that. Otherwise, it's going to look just like the first fight. So we'll see what happens. It'll be very, very interesting, but that's my take on it. Great job to Lomachenko. I thought he looked spectacular, but will he do that against Teofimo Lopez? Will he you know, get his offense against Teofimo Lopez or some of these other elite 135-pounders? Hard to say. We'll see what happens. But that's my review of it. I thought Lomachenko did have an A-grade performance. It was a very, very good performance. But I need to see him in the ring with the Teofimo Lopez or one of these other elite guys to really judge overall, you know, where exactly he's going to be. You know, but it is what it is. I would love to see a Teofimo Lopez versus Vasyl Lomachenko rematch, and from what I'm hearing, it might happen. Great fight. Let's see what happens. Anyways, that's right about it for today. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you all later.